Hello and welcome. My name is Errity Green and this is Wise Women Oracle and Tarot. And today I'm bringing you a pick a card on what's next for you. So I think this will be a fun reading, more than likely a meaningful one. They always are. So if you do find you like this reading, I encourage you to like, subscribe, spread the word. Do click the bell icon. That way you receive a notification every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, my work, readings, you can check out the link below or visit erritygreen.com/shop. Last but not least, if you would love to join me on my other YouTube channels, those are communities available to you as well. Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Television, both of which are linked below. So without further delay, I will place a picture up of your 3 card piles to choose from today. As always, you are choosing from left to right. Okay, so card pile 1, what's next for you? So right off the bat, I feel like you're in a time of, it could be doubt and just really wondering if it's going to happen for you, if it's going to work out for you. You might be questioning yourself, questioning the path, questioning what's happening. Maybe even there's a flavor here of sort of giving up or giving in or never mind or forget about it. It doesn't feel like super angsty or angry, although those things can be there. It just feels like a disappointment, like there's some disappointment here, a loss maybe. And you might want to explore that deeper because I feel like there could be deeper roots to this that maybe you haven't fully explored or excavated with yourself yet. So this could be reflective of previous losses or a larger loss that came before this, and or you're still dealing with residual energies from something else that occurred prior that feels like the flavor of loss. But one way or another, I just feel like you're sort of at that point where you're like, I don't know. It's like sort of, I don't want to say apathetic because again, there's not like it's not in the tense in that way, but it feels like, well, you know, I guess if it happens, maybe it will, probably won't. And that doesn't even touch it. I wonder, it's like this, it's resignation. Now, what's interesting here though is, again, I don't feel like you're like, F it, or I give up, or I'm done forever. It just feels like you're kind of over it. Throwing in the towel. You know what? Never mind God, never mind life. I thought I had it down. I thought that this would work. I thought that this would happen. I thought things would unfold, but you know what? It's not happening. So perfect. So I feel like you kind of are in that energy of throwing in the towel. Now there's a couple things that are coming through here though. One is, and so you might have to explore which one is landing for you most, and or they could all apply. But one of the threads or flavors here is around, okay, good, surrendering this, letting that be, as opposed to resignation in a sort of quote unquote negative way or destructive way, you know, letting it be something constructive for you, meaning that perhaps you change your focus or perhaps you withdraw your attachment or to whatever it is you wanted to happen. Maybe you were holding on particularly tightly. Or perhaps you just start focusing on the things that you do love or that are working out, that are unfolding for you, focusing on things that are right in front of you. Sometimes we can hope for a dream or a wish or an aspiration, whether it's a career, a goal, whether it's some kind of success or recognition, whether it's soulmate, partner, romance. It's like we can wish for something and wish for something, or work for something and work for something. And then when it doesn't happen or pan out, ultimately we can get to a place where we're then able to surrender that emotional attachment to it or investment. And then we focus on what is here. You know, what is happening in your reality, what is working, what things are going well, what things are going right. And it more or less frees you to just be present to your life, to your experience, instead of holding out on a wish or a hope or something like that. Now, the other message was, so one was around surrender, and the other one was like, yeah, so then let this be a redirection. Then perhaps it is a fork in the road. I don't feel like that's going to be the case for all of you. I think for some of you, it's more an energetic or emotional attachment and or withdrawal from focusing on so much, you know, a future projection where it's like you're trying to create something, and as opposed to that just being fully here and inhabiting your body and your present moment and what's happening in your world and reality now. So for many of you, I think it's that. You know, for most of you, I think it's that. There might be some of you though where it's more of a fork in the road where it's like, okay, well, this might be an opportunity then to redirect your focus, to change focus, to shift gears. And this actually ends up bringing you to where you want to go. I do feel like that's a small minority. I feel like the majority here, I think this energy though is related to another deeper loss. I would explore those roots. It's not coming through exactly what that is for all of you or each of you. It might be different for each of you. But I feel like exploring those feelings around loss or disappointment or failure or regret or remorse, there might be an opportunity there to excavate some of that and to really feel your feelings. Some of you might process your feelings through journaling. Some of you might process it in a different way, but really exploring them, see where they're taking you. What are they trying to tell you? What are they trying to say? What are they trying to tell you about what you love? And then it might bring about also being clear about what your values are and what does matter most to you and how you can experience or implement that now, even if you haven't accessed what it is you were hoping for, whatever goal, aspiration, or dream that hasn't arisen or materialized for you yet. I don't think the message is to give up hope and to just, okay, never mind, I guess the dream's not happening. I feel like you're already there. But there is a message here of trusting your path. Of recognizing that there is meaning here. And I do think it has to do with being present to what is here and allowing yourself to explore what is here. Are they feelings that are important for you to explore? Is there something going on in your life at the moment that is more relevant for you to give your attention to right now? I do feel like there's something right here in front of your face. It's almost like we can kind of look off in the distance at something. There might be a big elephant in the room that we're missing because we're looking off in the distance, and what we need or what we need to focus on or what we do have is right here. Let's see what else is coming up here. Yeah, I feel like, again, some of you have felt like there's an uphill battle here, where it's like been too hard or too long and you have given up. You're like, you know what? If it's going to come to me, it's going to come to me all by itself because I'm done. I'm done carrying this heavy load. I'm done bearing this cross. This is not what I wanted to do. This is not how I wanted it to look. It shouldn't be this hard. I don't want it to be this hard. And I feel like it's been a journey of sort of plugging away at something or really working towards something or working hard at something or wanting or hoping for something. And it simply hasn't panned out. And so and so here it's almost like when you let go of it and you just be in your world and your life and your experience and your moment as it is now and really expand that's what's going to help bring about this. It's less about trying to move in a different direction or create something. It's like we hear a lot of that rhetoric online and blogs, articles, podcasts, books about creating. But the interesting energy here, it's saying it's less about constructing this new reality for you, card pile one, or like going in a different direction or plugging away at something. And it's more about being right here in your world and your life as it is, whatever is already here, and just expanding and expanding and expanding. You don't have to work at the expanding part, okay? Again, no more doing and trying and creating and striving, trying to force something to happen. It's about being present, just opening your heart and opening your heart some more and opening your heart some more, really receiving the moment, being here in the moment, allowing life to expand you, expand what is already in your life. I'm trying to think if there might be a relevant example. Would there be an example for expansion? It's almost like, let's just say your life is very simple. I'm going to give you a super, super, super simple example that not necessarily relevant, but that came through. It's like, let's just say your life is very simple. Things aren't working out the way that you thought. But something you do every day is walk your dog. Okay. So you're like, okay, F this whole dream. I'm just going to focus on what's in my world right now, what's right in front of my face, and just organizing my life. What needs to be taken care of? What kind of things, like what am I supposed to be learning here maybe that hasn't already been addressed? Is it organization? Is it decluttering? Is it managing? Is it outsourcing? Is it there's a skill or maybe something that needs to be processed? If there's more meat here that you're meant to work through for the other stuff to open up that happens naturally. So returning to the example of, so you get into this habit of walking your dog every day, walking your dog every day, walking your dog every day. And it's something as simple as that. And you've kind of given up on the dream or the hope and the aspiration. You're just kind of doing what's already here, what's already in your reality, plugging away at that of what's here. And when you open up your eyes to what's here, instead of focusing so much on the distance, it's going to be so like what's off in the distance or the horizon. You're going to notice things that might need to be sort of cleaned up or addressed or acknowledged or reconciled, or what needs to be cleaned up, what loose ends need to be tied, what I's need to be dotted, T's need to be crossed. It's like, is there, some kind of life management or organization that needs to happen? There's something here that is being missed when you're always looking forward instead of looking here. So you're walking the dog, and then one day you run into someone, and it's really random, coincidental meeting. This is not a prediction. This is an example of the kind of thing I mean by how life expands us. Life expands all by itself. We don't have to really work for it. We're just here and we're present for it. Now, if you weren't present in that moment, you might not pay attention. You might not catch the eye of the person. You might not realize there's an opportunity for conversation. You miss that opportunity. Life then has to present another one. That's why it's so important to be present. So you have this conversation with this person. They mention something and you're like, oh, that's interesting. You kind of write it down. A couple weeks go by. You pick it up again. You're like, oh, I really wanted to call that person or check out their website. You go to the website, then they have some kind of event, and then you're like, okay, maybe I'll do it. I'll give it some time. And then what do you know? A check comes through the mail, and you're like, okay, I can do this event. You go to the event, and it leads to another thing. It leads to another thing. It leads to another thing. Do you see what I'm saying? Where you don't have to work so hard. You can relax into what's here, and life is going to unfold for you like a river. It's going to take you where you need to go, where you want to go. Yeah. So let's see what else is here. I think this is a lot of breaking yourself free from the chains that you have inhabited or believe you've had to occupy. It's because when we're so focused on something that we have to do, create, achieve, accomplish, something like that, it's almost like we actually limit ourselves and hold ourselves back, as opposed to allow what wants to come through, allow what wants to come forward, allow this river to take us where it wants to go. It's basically like a river that has been dammed. And it's like we put up this big barrier, and then we're asking life, give me the river, give me the river, give me the river. And yet we have this big dam up because we're kind of putting our bets on and making it out to be that it has to be this certain way, when it's about taking that dam down so the universe can follow through, can give to you. I think there's more here though. Give me a moment to sit with your cards. So this is about less living for the future, more living for the now. That's really what this is about. It's like, it's almost like there's this giant mountain in front of you, this giant, giant, giant mountain. And this is where you think your dream lies, at the very top. Okay, that's where you think it lies. So you look at this mountain, you daydream about this mountain, and you're like always kind of approaching the mountain, wanting to climb it, and perhaps you do, the other metaphors that you're climbing it, and you're climbing it, and you're climbing it. But I almost feel like you're down here, there's this big mountain, and you're always feeling like you're climbing it or looking toward the horizon or wanting to be somewhere that you're not. And instead of looking at that mountain and daydreaming about being in that mountain and what it's going to bring you and how it's going to, change your life and all the great things it's going to have, it's saying, instead of looking, pull your gaze down and look around what's right in front of you. Like the movie Twister. You guys have seen that movie from back in the day. It has Joe and Bill, and they're up on the hill, which is kind of interesting. And there's a tornado and there's a storm and all this stuff. And she's like, oh, this has got to work. And she wants this all to work out. And she has her whole dream, like her whole life has been, kind of focused on this one goal, this one thing that's going to change her life. It's going to change the world because she can help somebody, and it's connected to the loss of her dad as a child. So you might even explore, how is this dream something that is going to give you something that you felt like you didn't have as a child? Because that's really the unmet need that you're seeking. That's huge. That's big. Write that down. Okay. Or pause this video. That's important for you to address. Whatever this dream symbolizes or represents has something to do with why you want it so badly, or push so much for it, or desperately so want it, or believe it's yours, or whatever. Part of it, not all of it, is there's never any problem with the way that we present, or the way that we express or show up, or the things that we want. Never. It's always meant to be, and it always brings us deeper into ourselves, where we're meant to go, what we're meant to experience, what we're meant to have. So it's not a problem, but it's saying, how does that mountain that you keep looking at represent an unmet need within yourself? And it actually brings up a lot of emotion for me, because it's just such a beautiful thing. So take a look at that. And we're going to go back to Joe and Bill on the hill in Twister, and she's like freaking out because it's not working. Her dream has been thrown about again, like nothing's working out. It's not happening. And he's like, will you stop looking at all this stuff and look at what you have right in front of you? And she had this opportunity to sort of recognize that she's been pining her whole life for this one thing and missing everything that was actually happening right in front of her. She already had an opportunity. She had some abundance, whatever that was. And yet she was so focused on this dream, i.e. meeting or healing this childhood wound, that she was unable to see clearly what was already here. And so, there's an opportunity to enjoy your life, expand into your life, be in the moment, live in the moment, enjoy the moment, savor what's here, savor what's right in front of you, explore the big elephant in the room. You're going to start not pining away. had that in my mind already from before. You're gonna start picking away at this. It kind of reminds you of like an ice sculpture, where the ice sculpture is right in front of you and you're kind of picking at it, and here and there, like going about your life, picking at it, going about your life over here, picking at it, going about your life over here, picking at it. And ultimately what you find is the sculpture has created itself. It's like it is realized and manifested in your life now, as it is now, as you're paying attention and giving attention to what is here now, as opposed to looking forward and what might be, what will be, what you're working toward, what you're trying to create. It's being right here in this moment, this very second, 2 feet on the ground, and looking at what's right in front of you. All right, card pile 1, that is your reading. Do let me know how it resonated in the comments below. Share your stories. When you just say card pile 1, you can say that, but I don't remember by the time I get to it, so we can't have a conversation on it. But I'm always happy when something resonates. Do like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me or purchase a private reading, you can check out the details below or visit erritygreen.com/shop. Last but not least, you can check out my other YouTube channels, Psychic True Crime, Wise Women Television, both of which, as always, are linked below. Thank you, card pile 1. All right, card pile 2, what's next for you? So what I'm getting right away is about, like, you've been going through a period of time of maybe sort of cleaning up old messes or gaining clarity or finding your path, finding your way. You know, what's next for you? Actually, I'm just realizing that. So I feel like you're trying to like find clarity, sift through, kind of, I feel like there's some unpacking happening here. That could be inner work, inner child work, shadow work. Maybe you're finding clarity in a situation or clarity within yourself. I feel like there is some kind of fog or uncertainty or confusion or lack of clarity here. I feel like card pile 2, that's something that you've been working through or working with recently in terms of really finding some clarity on what it is that you want, on where it is you're called to go. I mean, this is so funny. It's landing perfectly with the theme of the reading. It's like, well, thanks, Errity, you're telling me why I came here. I already know, but we're going to read what's here. So, it's like, well, what is next for me? You know, what is my calling? Where am I meant to go? What am I meant to do with this? What am I meant to do with this mess? Like, maybe there has been some kind of mess for you. Maybe that's not going to be for everybody. We feel like for many of you, if not most of you, it's like either you've been dealt a hand of cards or you've been unpacking something that happened long ago or at least a while ago, and you're still kind of unpacking some of that. There's still some residual energies that you're working with, looking through, finding clarity on, finding clarity forward, like your next direction as a result of, excuse me. And then for some of you, I feel like you're just sort of in this uncertain place of, okay, oh, what's next? You know, what am I to do? What do I want? Where do I want to go? Where do I want to take this? And I think when we don't know, that can lead to stagnation. It can lead to indecisiveness. It can lead to more stagnation. Like, it's like interesting how it all happens, because it's like, if we don't have that clear direction, because we're sort of in that fog and still unpacking things. And sometimes it takes unpacking those things before we can get full clarity. So that's important that you continue to unpack, you know, what is here? What is happening inside of your body, your mind, body, spirit? What emotion is here? What is it trying to tell you? Where is it trying to tell you to go? What is it asking that you address? What is it asking that you do? What conversation is it asking you to have with yourself? You know, it's like your unpacking is what is going to be or lead to or result in the revealing for you. Because we all assume that we're going to just like get clarity and it's going to be there, and then we're going to sort of unpack as we go. And that does happen, that can happen. But for you, it's feeling like the clarity becomes more and more illuminated as you're doing this unpacking. And it's almost like you're waiting for clarity or wanting direction or direction forward when it's already right here in front of you, but it's inside something. So it actually kind of reminds me of this activity I was doing with my son yesterday, where we were placing these little jewels, these little fake jewels in a little, like a treasure box full of sand. And then each of us would have to find it. So like he would cover his eyes, I would place the jewel in the sand and I'd give it to him. And then he'd have to sift through and find this jewel. And so it reminds me of that, where it's like, card pile 2, at least in your case, you might be expecting this jewel to be right in front of you. Like, oh, that's it. Ha, that's where I'm going. Perfect, solid gold. I'm on my way. But this is actually more about you having to sift through that sand to find the jewel, because the jewel can only be found in the sand that you have to sift through. It's not going to be found just sitting there on a, you know, on the street, you know, waiting for you. It's one of those situations where it's actually within yourself, with what's already here, with maybe what remains to be answered, or dealt with or faced or responded to or processed or worked through or whatever. It's like it's there waiting for you and waiting to be realized. And that is what is going to give you greater answers, give you greater clarity, give you greater direction forward. What were we talking about earlier? Because I feel like I was circling around, but I don't know what that original point was when we opened, in terms of talking about how we unpack. And you're looking for clarity as to where to go, but in fact, it's not going to be clearly right in front of you. It's actually going to be something that's found within through the processing of what's already here. There was a thought that I opened with. Oftentimes when I'm sharing, I have to go with what's coming through, and then the other thought leaves. Kind of like channeling would be, where it's like the thread's there, I follow the thread, and if I don't catch that thread, it just goes. So if it wants to come back, it will. And if any of you, if I did say something that felt like I left you on the hook, what you can do is put a little comment below, be specific, let me know what I did say, and we'll see what comes through based on your prompt, because no doubt it will return if it's meant to return for those of you who felt like it was unanswered. But it's like this, the clarity that you seek, the answers that you seek, whatever it is you're looking to find is inside of you, within the sort of deep work, shadow work, inner child work, whatever work that you're doing. There's something that you're unpacking. There's something that you're processing. There's something that you're still sifting through, lifting the hood of your car, kind of like that idea. And I feel like you're already doing this. Like, this isn't something where it's like, oh, the first time you've opened the hood of your car, that could be the case for some of you, but I'm actually feeling like you've already been doing some of this. And it's almost like what is already here inside of you, if it's sitting there like a rock, or sitting there like a ball of yarn or whatever, then undo that ball of yarn, actually explore that. What is that feeling telling you? Like, if there's anger sitting there, see what it's trying to tell you. If there's sadness sitting there, what is it trying to tell you? Is it, you're going to find sort of nuggets or breadcrumbs as you go, sometimes very clear direction. Like, sometimes anger will tell you, I don't want to deal with this anymore. Sometimes it'll give you great clarity or little clarity, is what I'm trying to say, where sometimes it can give you clear direction. You know your true north, that you're on your merry way, where sometimes it can be more like it just gives you a breadcrumb, where it's like, I don't want to be treated like this at my workplace or in this job or in this relationship, no more, kind of thing. And that's one step that you take. And then something else will come up, another experience, another emotion, or something else to be processed. And that's going to give you another breadcrumb. Sometimes it can look like that. And sometimes it's, you get everything all at once. For most of you, it's probably gonna be little nuggets. And I feel like you've been searching for clarity, searching for an answer, wanting something to be revealed, but it is, and it's being revealed through you, through your inner work, through the work that you're doing, through the path that you're on right now. Ultimately, where it's taking you is sort of out of, I feel like, this place of not feeling clear, this place of this fog, this haze, not really knowing, perhaps not even being as impassioned about life, not as excited, maybe not as thrilled, maybe not as feeling as alive or inspired or whatever. It's like everything that you want is just outside. Like, it's already there, it's available to you, but there's a perception, a limit in your perception or your mindset or your perspective. So, we're talking about the inner work, we're talking about the shadow work, we're talking about unpacking things that are sitting there in your field, it's been unprocessed or unaddressed or unlooked at, something like that. But there's also this message of whatever it is that's holding you back. If you're seeking for this clarity, it's almost like it's right in front of you and it's obvious and it's apparent, but you might not be able to see it, again, because of what you're processing. So it's like, we can be in a certain energy or state of mind or experience or holding on to certain baggage that prevents us from seeing clearly, and we're not seeing that everything there is right in front of us. It actually reminds me a little bit of card pile 1, very different readings, but similar theme, similar flavor, where it's like everything that you want is just a step outside, but you can't see it because you're in this mindset that's telling you something else. Let's see what else is here. So this is about coming alive from the inside out, right? That unpacking that we're talking about. You're going to find that it's interesting. It's almost like, okay, so imagine, say, I don't want to say like a body, like the outline of a body, right? And let's just say normally it would be filled with light, right? And this is just an example. This isn't necessarily what your energy body is, so don't take it that way. But we have all these rocks in there, so we can't really see the light. We just see, different rocks and darkness. But So we pull this rock out. Oh, there's a big beam of light coming through. We pull this rock out. Another big beam of light coming through. Pull this rock. And slowly we're unpacking and pulling out all these rocks. And we see this, giant body of light. This body of light where the clarity is there. Everything is there. All the things you're seeking for is there. It's all there. It's already there. It's just right now being covered or muted or quieted or silenced with this energy that is still being processed and unpacked. So doing that inner work is going to be supportive for you. You're already unpacking. But the good about this reading is that it's telling you you're already doing it and saying you're already on the way. And it's saying that, oh, this is going to be revealed with what you're doing now, and to continue to look at what comes up, what pops up, because that's what you're meant to unpack, which is going to continue to reveal the direction and the clarity that you seek. What's going to happen is you find parts of yourself that kind of come alive again. You're going to find parts of yourself that have new expression or new things it wants to explore, new things it wants to experience. You might find that, creative expression wants to come through in a new way, or you find joy in a new way. Perhaps what before gave you joy doesn't anymore, which is why you don't have as much clarity on how to move forward. But it's like all these things about yourself, i.e. your authentic self, all these things start to become clear as you unpack, and any clarity that you were once missing is now being revealed, but it's as a result of that unpacking and that processing and looking at what's already here. It's almost like if something is blocking your view, you have to move it out of the way. In this case, you can't move it all at once. It's like unpacking it, like I said, rock by rock, seeing what each of them have to say, because it's going to give you some insight, some wisdom, some clarity, some feedback, some direction. And then ultimately the path again is revealed because the obstacle has been removed. But ultimately the obstacle was something within your own self, your own mindset. You're not able to see it because of this filtered view, because of what's currently being processed. It isn't as clear. Yeah. So as you rise above this, as you allow this unpacking and processing and so on and so forth to unfold, to continue, to move forward, to move along as you're present to it. And you might find that card pile 1 is also supportive for you, card pile 2. This is not going to be the case for everyone, so I would only do that and spend time on it because, of course, our time is precious. If you were called to both and you weren't really sure, but you settled and chose card pile 2, card pile 1 might also choose to, sort of like a prefacing to what's happening here. Okay, because it's saying once you've been able to process through that and you've kind of taken a look at each of the layers, it's like the princess and the pea. I think that's the term or the story, where it's like something like that, where there's a pea and there's like all these mattresses and she sits on the top, just kind of uncomfortable. And she, no matter what she does, this might not be it at all, you guys, but just let this example be what it needs to be for you. Okay. There's this pea at the very bottom and it's like, how is she feeling it between 13 mattresses or whatever? But she is. And so moves the first mattress. It's uncomfortable. She still feels it, or moves the other mattress, the next one. And she finally finds out it's a very tiny pea at the very bottom. But that was it all along, right? It was making her uncomfortable. So kind of like you might have this discomfort, this uncertainty, this lack of clarity, lack of focus, lack of direction. What happens next? That's what the reading's on. What's next for you? It's like, something is supposed to be happening, but you're not really sure. And it kind of feels uncomfortable. And okay, we'll remove that mattress and then remove this one. But you're not just like getting rid of it. It's like, what does it have to say? Where does it guiding you toward? What is it telling you about yourself? What is it telling you about, something you might need to know, something that would be supportive for you to know, a way that you could better love yourself, care for yourself, take care of yourself, a way to do life better, okay? And not better as in, oh, there's bad and there's good, but better meaning in a way that actually feels good and more supportive and more loving for you. Something that is healing, something that meets old needs, something that honors who you are today, right? So allowing the process to unfold as it is, because that pea is found, but it's after you meet this mattress and meet this one and this one and this one all the way down. It's not like you can skip one. You got to really unpack all of that. And what happens as a result? You come into alignment, that full alignment, that clarity that you seek, looking for that answer, looking for that direction, looking for that focus. It's obvious. And it's not only obvious, like, oh, now I have clarity. It's almost like your new reality, what it is you've always wanted, what it is that was meant for you just lands in your lap. It's like manifestation, 2.0, meaning, you didn't have to lift a finger. You didn't have to do a thing. All you had to do was do the inner work, clear the field, take note, honor what comes up, and then boom, it's all here. For some of you, this isn't going to be everyone, but for a small majority, maybe 20% could be, so maybe a minority of you. And it doesn't mean this is off the table, but I'm saying for a small group of you, that this is actually a soulmate or a partnership. So if you are curious, that is something that's relevant for you, if that is something that you've sought or wanted, that does come through for you, okay? And it doesn't mean that the rest of you don't. It just means either you already have that and or this particular reading or process isn't relevant for that piece, but that it is relevant for whatever else you're wanting to create, experience, attract, or have in your life. So card pile 2, this is about focusing what's already here, processing and unpacking what is here, what is coming up, what is in your field. It's giving you insight. It's giving you direction. It's telling you where you want to go, what is true, where you want to go. Like, it's giving you that true north, but in pieces and breadcrumbs, based on learning more about yourself. It's a process of refinement and inner discovery and inner knowing that ultimately gets you right where you want to go, where you don't even have to lift a finger, it just happens. So card pile 2, this is your reading. If this resonates with you, I encourage you to share your story in the comments, like, subscribe, press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. If you want to get to know more about me, personal readings, you can check out the link below or visit erritygreen.com/shop. Last but not least, I do have 2 other YouTube channels. Do join our communities over there. I have Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Television, both of which are linked below. Thank you, card pile 2. All right, card pile 3, what's next for you? So card pile 3, I feel like you're in an experience of a transition or a transformation, deep self transformation, like soul healing, soul excavation, really finding yourself, this really, really, really deep excavation of yourself. I feel like you've been on a quest, on a search, and I feel like you've been searching for it to a degree outside of you, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you've been like looking for answers, waiting for the call, what is it going to be, and it's going to be found within you. It's not about you discovering something out here. It's about you discovering something within yourself. And it's like, that's the whole point. And it's like, oh yeah, duh, like I already know that. What did I come here for? And it's like, well, yes, but it's helpful in that it's about, it's not just like, oh, what's within or what's inside of you. It's about discovering yourself more so than something that you're looking for out here. Okay, so this might have to do with maybe not knowing what it is that you love or what brings you joy or what you're called to or what really lights you up. Perhaps you've lost that clarity. That would connect very much with card pile 2 if that feels relevant for you and you were sort of deciding or debating which one to choose. I do feel like this reading, it does this many times, where it goes in chronological order in terms of where someone might be in each of the phases or development of their evolution or experience. So card pile 2 might speak to you as well as card pile 1. With that said, deep self-healing happening here, deep soul healing, soul excavation, and a greater expansion and diving into self-love, exploring what is self-love? What does that mean to me? What does that mean for me? What does that look like to me? What does it feel like? What does it not feel like? There's a learning of love here, but especially and most importantly, a love for yourself. And for some of you that might frustrate you or feel annoying at some level, or like almost like, oh, eye roll, so typical. But I also feel like there's a part of you that gets that and understands that and recognizes why that's important. And this is a matter of learning to love yourself in all the areas that you've judged yourself. This is about learning to love in all the ways that you haven't been able to give yourself love. This is about loving yourself in all the ways other people haven't loved you, seeing yourself in ways that other people haven't been able to see you, giving yourself what other people have not given you. This might be an exploration for some of you around what you weren't given in childhood, making a list of that, actually writing it out, processing it, outlining what were those deep core unmet needs. And you might explore, you might at first find that you're writing all the unmet needs, and there's like a list of 20 things, we'll say, or 12 to 15 things, right? And you're like, okay, what's the primary couple of themes here? What are the primary unmet needs? You might explore those, because ultimately it's about learning to honor and receive the things that you never once did or you never have, because that's going to be the shift that takes you out of a place of wounding and to a place of greater expansion. Because it's almost like we have these multiple parts of ourselves, and you don't have to necessarily believe in that or agree with that or subscribe to that, but they're actual literal realities, but it is helpful to be able to do deeper work or inner work or self-discovery work, seeing ourselves as many parts. And so if we have a part that's sort of closed off and refuses to come out, or is hiding behind a wall or hiding behind our awareness or consciousness, and it won't open up to receive love, let's say, to receive attention, whatever it is that it actually wants. And we might be able to sort of intellectualize it and from the outside be like, oh, it's okay, come on out. And that's how it starts, right? We kind of coax it, soften the borders over time. However, it's like we're just kind of barking at it. And not that we would ever just like yell and bark at ourselves, but I mean, if we're not, this isn't done, if this work is not done in an embodied fashion, it's going to go nowhere, right? It's just saying affirmations as an example. It has to be deep embodied work. We're really relating to ourselves, getting to know ourselves, and allowing ourselves to blossom, to open, to come into being, right? To open like a flower. And so it's like we have this part of ourselves that is sort of wilted and turned in on itself and unwilling to open and receive. No matter what we do, we're going to continue to experience a life that reflects this, meaning our experience of abundance in whatever form, our experience of love in whatever form will continue to be limited or take on a more limited form because this piece has not been addressed. So it's like, what is the core need of this part of ourselves? This could be your inner child. You could call it your inner wounded child, call it trauma, because a lot of times that's relevant. And getting to know that part of yourself and be with and sit with that part of yourself and love and be tender with that part of yourself, you'll find that it slowly and surely opens. And then over time, you'll also find that it allows some love in, some caretaking, some tenderness, some warmth, and then it opens and opens, and eventually that whole sort of holding back, feeling limited, hiding away, hiding behind conscious awareness falls away or softens, and this other part can sort of rejoin us. That's what all about coming into wholeness is. That's what healing looks like ultimately. That's when it's sort of like when we die our physical bodies, how we rejoin source, God, great spirit, cosmos, universe, consciousness itself. It's like we're in this experience of separation, we eventually open and release, and there we are. We're coming into something greater, coming into our greater fullness and wholeness, the truth of our being. So ironically, it's kind of like the Russian dolls thing, where it's like that is even happening at the microcosmic example of being a human and having these parts of ourselves that are sort of hold off or shelled off somewhere. And now we're going in and holding space and allowing and being with until this part of us is ready to come forward, to be revealed, and then to eventually, ultimately, which will likely take some time. It does not have to. Sometimes these things happen more spontaneously, but over time will open and be revealed to us, and we'll receive whatever love it once did not get. And so this is about meeting yourself in the most tenderest and vulnerable place, engaging with that part of yourself, building a relationship with that part of yourself, doing that deeper healing work, coming into greater union, connection, wholeness with that part of yourself, so that you can, this is all going to be natural and organic anyway, but so that you can understand what it needs or wants, and then you're able to give it to yourself. I think that's gonna be so natural. You're not even gonna have to think of it in that way. It's more of like you just build a relationship with no idea of what the outcome has to be or is going to be, or what it's all going to look like and where it's going to take you. Just building a relationship with yourself for the sake of building a relationship with yourself, and all will be revealed. You know, the work will be done. This is about loving yourself, holding yourself tenderly where you weren't mothered, perhaps, where you weren't properly nurtured, where you weren't truly nourished at the soul, deep emotional level, where someone was unable to hold you. You know, will you allow yourself to be held? Will you allow yourself to be held by or with other people? Learning to feel safe with yourself doing it, so that eventually, ultimately, you can allow other people to do it. Creating safe spaces and containers for you to experience love and to open to love, and allow yourself to do that more consistently, to support that reunion, you know, like we were talking about earlier. So this is about learning to love in all the areas you were unable to or once did not. Love yourself in all the areas you previously judged or judged as problematic or unworthy, or even things that other people didn't approve of, and so then you didn't approve of it and you weren't sure of it. Loving yourself anyway, seeing how a lot of the lack of love that you don't give to yourself was simply a reflection of what your family said, or what your family did, or what they said you were worth or not, or maybe even your perceptions about that. So that ultimately it was all a story and it wasn't real anyway. So all of that stuff is important. All of that is a lot of the inner work that was alluded to even in card pile 2. Again, if that's relevant for you, you can go there. Learning to hold yourself and love yourself like the sweet little baby, you know, really that deep inner child work. It doesn't have to be that way or look that way. For all of you, you might approach this or encounter this in a way that I'm not speaking to, but ultimately it's about coming into greater connection, union, and relationship with those deeper, tender, more vulnerable parts of you that tend to hide away, not come out, and have a wound that can only be addressed through you meeting it and meeting it fully. Okay, so yeah, I feel like you're in a time right now of coming out of this, of leaving. It's almost like that reality that was sort of closed off. It's like whatever manifestation you have in your life right now does reflect this wounding. But it's like as you soften this and soften and soften and soften, right, you find that not only do you change on the inside, do you feel different on the inside, you're able to experience and receive more love, abundance in whatever form. But of course, also that's then reflected in your outside reality because you're allowing people to love you, to hold you, to caretake for you, to support you. You're able to sort of leave this old habit or cycle behind, but not just for yourself. This might be a generational cycle that you are leaving behind that has to do with greater self-love and self-keeping. It's almost like a way of keeping yourself. We talk about safeguarding something or being a keeper of something. It's like a proper caretaker or keeper takes good and well care of self. And you're learning to do that in all the ways that you weren't even shown or given. So it might be difficult. It might be unclear. You might not know how. And so it's like, if that is the case, first of all, practice, be willing to experiment, resources, materials, following your gut, your body, your instincts. What is it saying you need to do? Honoring that, seeing where you're being guided, where the parts of your life aren't lining up with the things that would best support you. Being honest with yourself about what your medicine is and only allowing medicine to be in your life, meaning that if things are hurtful, toxic, unconscious, or unsupportive, they're not going to be for you. And also getting the help. If you feel like you're best going to learn support and love and unconditional love in safe spaces or containers with other people, get the therapist, the coach, the mentor, the necessary support then. That way you can have that support and learn it in the context of healthy, loving, safe relationships. This is what's going to bring you back to life. Getting to know this part of yourself is also going to bring other parts of you online, so to speak. These might be spiritual gifts, intuitive abilities. It might be some, imaginative or artistic expressions or abilities. It's like when we hide certain parts of ourselves, they're hidden behind closed doors. We're not as in deep contact with them. So things that you might have been as a child that you're no longer able to access now. Maybe you were a great drawer. Maybe you were a phenomenal dancer. Maybe you were a great production designer. Maybe you loved costumes. I have no idea. It's going to be different for each of you, but you're able to then reveal those once again, and they are incorporated then into your wholeness. So you might find new discoveries, new expressions, new forms of art that come through for you, more joy, vitality. Sometimes it's a feeling of youth or zest or energy. Where you once felt zapped for energy, you now feel alive. You might feel more like a child, and living in wonderment and awe, amazement, feeling like life is colorful and vibrant and rich. You might feel, again, more zest or energy or vitality, where, again, you feel like everything's alive and online. That's what you're going to find. Yeah, so what's happening here? There's a process that's unfolding that's bringing you deeper into yourself, the deeper recesses of your inner being. And it seems like you're in a labyrinth. It seems like you're going nowhere. It seems like you're just going deeper and deeper into a cave with no light, with no way out, and you can only go forward. And you're like, where in the hell is this taking me? And some of you might have been on this journey for a while, and you're like, all right, I'm out of here. I'm done. It reminds me of card pile 1 a little bit. But ultimately, it's taking you right where you want to go, which is this awakening, which is bringing all this online, which is bringing you to deeper connection with yourself, self-love, the inner child. It's bringing out that wonder child, as opposed to the wounded child. There is a book that touches on that. I have not read it. I've only heard of it. There's someone else on Facebook. Her name is Chrissy Marie. If you decide you want to find her and or follow her, as random of a suggestion as that is. But ultimately, I'm talking about the book that she has brought my attention to just by talking about wounded child versus wonder child. That's something that lands for you. Do Google it. There is a book on this. I have not read the book. I've only heard the terms. But ultimately, it brings that wonder child online to where you're in that wholeness with that part of you, no longer separated from it, no longer hiding away from it or it hiding from you. And so life feels good. Life feels better, and it feels healthy. It feels grounded. It feels honest. It feels vulnerable. It feels allowing. It feels good. It feels good. So card pile 3, what's next for you? Continuing down this more or less rabbit hole, but doesn't mean you have to try for it or work for it or make it happen or rush it or any of that stuff. It's just creating the space, creating the conditions, getting the support if you need it to continue this quote unquote quest, but without a lot of energetic angst behind that, just letting it be and letting it flow and letting whatever occurs need to occur for all of this to come forward, for all of it to be revealed, for all of it to be known, and ultimately for you to come into a greater space of self-love. Having this deeper relationship and connection with yourself and loving yourself in all of those ways that perhaps you never did, or, as a child or even up to now. And then flowering. You're going to flower or blossom like a flower. Okay, so card pile 3, this is your reading. If this lands, resonates, I encourage you to like, subscribe, do press the bell icon. That way you receive notifications every single time a new reading pops up. Share your story in the comments. I would love to hear from you. If you want to get to know more about me, private readings, you can visit the link below or visit erritygreen.com/shop. I do have 2 other YouTube channels. I'd love to see you join those communities over there as well. Psychic True Crime and Wise Women Television. Thank you, card pile 3.